All right, what's up guys? My name is Shaan. Welcome to the channel. I wanted to make a short video specifically about all the physical symptoms related to anxiety, really give you an explanation and really help you understand why physical symptoms happen when you're struggling with anxiety. Because here's the truth. Most people think anxiety is just all in your head, right? It's like, oh, it's like I'm nervous before an exam, or I'm feeling nervous before giving this video. But anxiety is so much more than just being in the head. It's also very physical. It's mental and physical because it's focused on one thing, which is survival. Now, what this means is people who are struggling with physical symptoms that just get labeled as anxiety by their doctors and so on and so forth, they have a really hard time understanding what's going on. How do they identify what's really anxiety or what's an actual physical symptom? The line kind of gets blurred a little bit. That's what I want to talk about in this video. I really want you to understand how to identify, first and foremost, whether a symptom is anxiety or whether it's something serious. And by the way, it's really easy to do. And then furthermore, I want to give an explanation. Why does this happen? Why do physical symptoms happen? Why do these symptoms that literally make you think you have some sort of physical illness just end up being, quote unquote, all in your head? So if you don't know who I am, my name is Shaan. I struggled with this years ago. Managed to fully come out of it, and now I get to help other individuals fully come out of it as well. So pay attention. So what happens is that these physical symptoms that seem so scary is so easily misinterpreted as something actually serious. So what typically happens is individuals who struggle with anxiety, specifically those that struggle with panic attacks, because panic attacks are very physical, they have these sensations that come in that are so scary they literally feel like they're going to die. And the feeling is real. It feels like they are going to. And these symptoms are really, really, really strong. So what happens is that they end up going to their doctors and they run a series of tests and the doctors say, hey, you're fine. It's just anxiety. Almost kind of like casting it aside, almost making it sound like it's in their head. But that's not the truth. The good news is that the best way to really know if a symptom is physical or whether it's not is quite easy. And you may have already done it, which is you've gotten ruled out by your doctor. Everything has been ruled out. And now what happens is that I find individuals kind of do separate things during this time. Some people are like, okay, cool, it's anxiety, but how do I get out of this? Or somebody just disbelieves their doctor, just feels like it's untrue, or maybe they miss something. And so that's when they go into the that's when they go Googling their symptoms. That's when they go on forums. That's where they start getting assurances. They just can't figure it out because there's a fundamental misunderstanding about anxiety as a whole. So what I want to talk about is, why do physical symptoms happen when you're struggling with anxiety? Now, there's a lot of forces at play, and it's kind of a complicated answer, but it essentially boils down to this fundamental mechanism. This mechanism is called the fight or flight response. Now, it's important you understand this mechanism because, look, if you don't understand what's happening, you're not going to be able to focus on recovery. Because think about it, like if you don't know what's happening, every heart palpitation is going to feel like a heart attack. Every breathlessness makes you think that you have some breathing issue. Every scary, irrational thought that's really strong will make you think that you're maybe going crazy. Or any feelings of unreality, what we call derealization, depersonalization, makes it feel like you're in some sort of alternate dimension. So it's really important, unlike other things in life, you really have to understand what's happening first before you even focus on the solution. So the fight or flight response is an innate mechanism that's pretty much in all animals, definitely all mammals, all animals as well, even reptiles and stuff. And this is an innate mechanism that's designed to survive. So it essentially does two things: run away or attack. And what happens is that we all have this innate mechanism and it's designed to protect us. Think about, when we used to live millions of years in the African savannah. Chances were the threats were very different than they are now. Maybe it was a tiger, maybe it's a lion, maybe it's a snake, maybe it's tribal warfare, whatever it was. It was very important that we had an innate mechanism that allowed us to survive. And it had to be fast and it had to be strong. So what I mean by that is, let's say you're walking down, in the African savannah and you saw a snake. Before you could even interpret what's a snake, your fight or flight response had to automatically identify that and almost have like an automatic response where your body just geared up for the threat. So a lot of things happen physiologically when that happens. A lot of blood ends up moving to the muscles, your heart rate goes up, a lot of blood goes to your brain. There's a lot of things that happen. You start breathing more, getting more oxygen. Now, why is that important in today's time? Why does this affect you out of all people? Well, what happens is that our fight or flight response is amazing at firing. It's one of the reasons why we've survived so well and even thrived as a species. Here's the problem. What it's not able to identify is what's a real threat and what's not. And there's a survival advantage to this too, if you think about it. As we evolved, as we started moving other places in the world, as we started experiencing different threats, it was very important that our nervous system had to adapt to that. So here's the question. Why is it responding in even situations where there's no threat? You know, you're obviously not in danger. You're probably not even anxious, and yet you still feel these symptoms come in. This is where most people get tricked. This is why it's so easy to think that there's something physically wrong with you. But that's not the case, because ideally you've already been ruled out by your doctor. So the reason why this happens is because it's not good at identifying what's a real threat. It looks at you to determine whether that fight or flight response was appropriate. And here's what I mean. If you feel heart palpitations and it scares you and you feel like you're going to have a heart attack, well, you're responding in fear. Now, what that tells, that fight or flight mechanism, that innate part of your brain, that reptilian part, is that, hey, you firing during this time was appropriate. That was a good time, because look, Shaan actually reacted. We need to do this next time. And what happens is people end up getting stuck in this cycle that just gets stronger and stronger. And then symptoms that may have lasted only for a little bit now last all day, last months, sometimes last years. And what happens is people try to fix it. People try to fix it by the same way they would fix a headache, which is, oh, I have a headache, let me take an aspirin. Oh, I'm a little stressed, let me have a glass of wine. If I'm anxious, let me take this. No, that's not how anxiety works. In fact, anytime you try to take something to make the anxiety go away, you're kind of giving it that register that, hey, something's up. Hey, Shaan doesn't want to feel this way. There's probably a perceived threat. So every symptom, every physical symptom, heart palpitations, dizziness, nausea, vertigo, digestive issues, even things like even derealization, depersonalization, brain fog. I mean, the symptoms like numbness, tingling, you name it. All these things can be answered by the fight or flight response. And the way to identify whether it's fight or flight response or something else is literally getting it ruled out by your doctor. So if you've already done that, which I'm pretty sure you have, that's a good sign. That means it's anxiety. That actually means it's fixable. And the great news is that the key to recovery is in your hands. It's not in some supplement. It's not in some mantra. It's not in some breathing technique. It's not even in this video. Recovery is within you. There's just a few things you need to do right. Now, that hopefully helps you understand the mechanics of anxiety. But now, if you kind of have a good idea of why you have these symptoms and you have a good solid answer and you believe it and you know it's anxiety, now it's about focusing on the solution. And the solution takes a little bit of time. It takes practice. It's not like you just learn something or you do something once and it goes away. It's normally 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. And if you really want to know how to recover from this, how do you get out of this? What I'll do in the link below is that I'll put a link to my free report. This is a free book that I created. I decided not to charge anybody. I decided to give it free, mostly because it was something I wish I would have had when I was struggling. And so this is exactly what I use with my clients. This is exactly what I use. Hold them by the hand, take them step by step to recovery myself. For a long time, I didn't want to write this because recovery isn't about reading it from a book. It's about living life. And so in order to live life, I've always found it's better to have a guide, at least in the beginning, so that you can kind of build up your confidence, your symptoms start dying down, and then you can focus on living. A book won't necessarily do that, but since so many people have asked, and obviously I can't make everyone in the world my client, I've written this out for you to at least start your journey. So I'll put a link down below. It's a great resource, definitely worth considering downloading, and I hope that helps. Now, the last thing I'm going to say, and I say this all the time, which is if you are serious about overcoming these physical symptoms, going back to living, no longer having anxiety be a crutch, no longer making this a life sentence, you have to change your approach to a certain degree. And what I mean by that is most of the time when we're anxious, we want it to go away right now. Naturally. I mean, it's not somebody who struggles with anxiety. It's not their fault. Anxiety is very uncomfortable. It's designed to make you do something immediately. But here's the problem. Anytime you do something immediately to make your anxiety go away, it never goes away. you need to change your approach. You need to change your mindset here because you're in it for the long haul. So what do you focus on? Focus on long-term freedom, not short-term comfort. So it shouldn't matter how you feel right now. You should be focusing on what are the right steps so that you in the future, 6 months from now, 3 months from now, a year from now, are a different person. You need to focus on that. It's very hard to do when you're struggling with anxiety. And so if you're trying to figure this out and you feel like anxiety is such a lonely road, it's difficult, nobody understands, nobody really knows what you're going through, even though they're very supportive. And I'm sure you have a lot of people that are very empathetic, but they just don't know what's happening. If you want to know more, I'll put a link down below to my private Facebook group. In this group, I'm putting exclusive content that I'm not posting on any other social media platform. This is content really that really goes into detail, much more in detail than like a 10-minute video would. And really takes you step by step. You will even get a chance to meet some of the clients that I've worked with that have fully recovered as well. So it's a great group. And if you want, definitely hit the link down below. Now, when you hit down at the link, it's going to ask you 3 questions. It's very important that you answer those 3 questions to the best of your ability. Here's the thing. Anxiety forums can get kind of toxic. If you've ever been on them, you know what I'm talking about, where there's a lot of story topping, a lot of fear mongering. It's like, imagine a whole bunch of people that have no idea what's going on. You just put them in a room. Things just escalate. People start panicking and things often get worse. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to maintain the integrity of the group. We don't want this to be another Facebook group or any group where people are just story topping each other, fear mongering. Everyone goes on these forums only to feel worse. This is really more of an educational thing where if you've gotten everything ruled out from your doctor and you're trying to focus on overcoming, not coping, definitely join this group. We're being very selective on who we add, so it's very important that you answer those 3 questions to the best of your ability. That being said, I hope you guys have an awesome time. Definitely hit subscribe if you guys haven't, and I'll see you guys in the next video.